everybody, and welcome to Decoding the WSL, the podcast dedicated to the stats and facts in the WSL. It's time for the Game Week 6 preview, which we are going to be running you through today, and we have a full house. I'm your host, Sam Biccarino, and alongside me, we've got all of the regulars today. Let's start off with, someone who was in the hosting chair not very long ago in the previous episode, Jacob Bernstein. Jacob, how are we doing?
Yeah, I'm doing good, thank you. Nice to have you back for this one. I am feeling good after another Spurs win, but I feel like I may be brought back down to earth this weekend.
Yeah, it might be. I think most teams get brought back down to earth when they face Chelsea, but we'll get to that. But yeah, look, and sounding quite nice as well now that you've got a fancy new microphone.
I do, yeah. Big upgrade in the equipment. So yeah, hoping the sound is good.
Is no going back now. You have to be on the podcast all the time, otherwise it's a complete waste of money. So Jacob's in. Alongside myself and Jacob, we've also got magnificent Izzy Duddy. Izzy, how are we doing this evening?
I'm very well, and it's lovely to have you back, Sam. It's a long time no see, I feel.
I think it's been about 2 weeks. If it doesn't seem like it's been that long.
2 weeks.
It doesn't seem like it's been that long because it's only 2 weeks, but at the same time, it feels like ages since I've been sat looking at all your faces and talking about football. Although someone that I have definitely listened to talking about football, both on here and on Halfway Line Pod, is Tom Maher. Tom, how are we doing?
I'm very well, thanks. Yeah, I don't know who had a bigger break, Oasis or us getting the band back together. You know, it's really nice to be here with the three of you.
I'm looking forward to selling out Nebworth as well and doing our tour around all the stadiums. I'm trying to figure out what you're wearing as well, Tom, because I can see Jacob's got the Boca Juniors. I can see Izzy's got Arsenal. I've obviously got Italy, but I can't tell what yours is. Is it like Dundee? Is it Kaiser Chiefs? There's not many teams playing orange.
I told Izzy and Jacob off air, so I was half expecting one of them to come in and seem like really smart and come in and say it, but it's Zambia with Barbara Banda on the back. We love Barbara.
If someone got Zambia, I'd be very impressed, like without knowing it, just by seeing the pattern on the sleeves. Fair play. Yeah, we're here today. We're going to have a look through the games coming up this weekend, the last one before the Cup and international fixtures. So the last bit of WSL action for a couple of weeks. But before I get to this, let's get on to our second Football Manager giveaway. So hopefully you'll be watching us on YouTube for this. If you're not, you will need to go over to YouTube to get involved. If you're on Spotify, etc., just give it a pause. Go load up YouTube. Won't take you a second. Find us there. Give us a subscribe and get involved because, yeah, we're doing a Football Manager giveaway. For the first time ever, the women's game is coming to Football Manager, and in Football Manager 2026, it will be released on the 4th of November, and we're giving away 2 copies of the game. First giveaway is already live. It's still going on Instagram, so to enter that, just go there, find our pinned post at Decoding the WSL on Instagram, tag a friend in the comments, and obviously be sure to like the post and follow the page as well. But we're giving away an additional copy right here on YouTube too. So, like I said, if you're listening on Spotify, Apple, etc., get over to the YouTube channel now to get involved. To be in with a chance of winning, go to the episode comments on this video on YouTube and drop a comment of what club you're going to be managing first on Football Manager 2026. There is no purchase necessary to enter the competition. Just comment below and don't forget to click subscribe while you're there so you never miss one of our episodes. The winner is going to be drawn at 9 p.m. on Sunday, the 12th of October. So this week, to get in quick. If you haven't done it by the time the games come around, do it quick so that you are in with a chance of winning. And the winner will be announced both on Instagram and on next week's show. So yeah, make sure you follow at Decoding the WSL on Instagram. Get involved with the extra giveaway there, but also follow us along so you can see if you won. And you'll also follow us so that we can get in contact with you if you are the lucky winner. Full details of the competition can be found in the episode description of this YouTube video. But for now, let's get into the football that's coming up this weekend. I think there's only one main place to start. It's I'll go over to Jacob first on this one because I think he'll be saying it's a title charge for both teams. It's Chelsea against Spurs, although Chelsea are hosting a Spurs team that have never beaten Chelsea in any match, any competition, or even a friendly. I don't think. I couldn't find anything when I was doing some research. This fixture last season finished as a 5-2 Chelsea win at home, but is it going to be the same again, Jacob, or could Spurs cause, well, what I would call an upset?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I have to be quite realistic with this one. I think we were speaking about it on the review pod actually, about how it's important for Spurs this season to get points and get wins against the teams around them. And so far, that's what we've done. We've won 4 out of 5, and the only game that we haven't won was against City. And I think that City game felt like a bit of a reality check. It was 5-1. We weren't really in the game, and the game got away from us very quickly. And I think that evidently showed the disparity between us and one of the top 4. I think Chelsea are a fantastic side, and I think we'll be able to put up a fight, but I can't look past a Chelsea win. I think it might not be as extreme as the City game was, but I'm going to go for a 3-1 Chelsea win. I think at the end of the day, these aren't the games that matter for Spurs, and I think Chelsea will just have the better of us. But I think what we'll be looking for is a strong performance. If we can compete and be in the game and show that we could potentially like contest with some of those bigger sides, and I think that's what Martin Ho will want to see. But I think Chelsea away is the hardest fixture in the WSL, and I think I'll go for a 3-1 Chelsea win.
Yeah, I don't blame you there. I think I've also gone for a Chelsea winning by 2 goals, but I've gone 2-0. I think they are a team that aren't performing at their best at the moment. They're not as defensively sound as they usually are. They're not as clinical going forward as they usually are. No, wrong turn of phrase, actually. They are very clinical. They're not creating chances, but they're doing very well with the chances they do create. They are overperforming a lot of their underlying numbers at the moment, and wouldn't be first in the table. I think I was looking at the XG table earlier. I think they're 3rd or 4th in that. So, they're doing very well. But as good teams do, even when you're not playing that well, you still come through with a win. It's just a case of, can Chelsea not play that well for the whole season and keep winning? Who knows? Izzy, I'll come to you next on this one. How are you thinking this game's going to go?
Yeah, to be honest, exactly the same as Jacob. I was thinking a sort of 3-1 situation. I do expect Spurs to kind of get something out of it, at least a goal, and put up a strong performance, because sort of like Jacob said, they know they're not going in this to win it. They're going in it to kind of show what they're made of and kind of send a signal out. So I don't see any reason. I don't see any reason why Spurs wouldn't score a goal, but I don't anticipate a huge upset here. I think I'd say 3-1 as well.
Yeah. Okay, we're all going down the same sort of path. Tom, you going to make it 4-4?
Well, yeah, I am. But maybe just to give a bit more hope to Spurs fans, I think, Chelsea have an away trip in the Champions League. It's on Wednesday. We've seen that these trips can have an effect on performances on the following weekend. They're away in Twente in the Netherlands. So, I mean, I think Tottenham will give them a better game than they did last year, because I think that 5-2 scoreline probably would maybe flattered Tottenham a little bit as well last season. I think I'm going to say 4-1 to Chelsea, but I think that is more of I think it'll be kind of a reflection of the fact that Tottenham were trying to get something from the game and maybe overstretched themselves. I think that they're under Martin Ho, he's given them a lot of confidence to go at a game like this and really try and get something. And I think they will score. But I do think Chelsea are just so good this season, and they're just, Vika Kaptein is playing so well, Aguilar Jones playing so well, and then even if you rest those players and you start in Sam Kerr and Katerina Macario, it's like it's not really a second string outfit, is it? So it's hard to see, but Spurs with that extra week's rest, that will help them because they're going to need it.
Yeah, I think Chelsea are going to face a hard time as well. I was just having a look through sort of FC Twente's matches, and the last time they lost a competitive game was the sort of Dutch Eredivisie Cup final, which they lost to PSV on penalties. And then the last game before that they lost was actually against Chelsea back in December. So they've won every single competitive game since then, with one draw, in that mix.
In that Dutch Cup final, who scored a 120th minute equaliser for PSV?
Didn't go that far into our research, Tom. Let me have a look now.
Werner Berman.
Yeah, happens to be a certain Chelsea player.
Yeah, so maybe it's not the right matchup for PSV. Sorry, Twente.
Yeah, Twente facing. Well, we'll see if she starts. She obviously didn't play last week, which was really great for me after I transferred her into my fantasy team. But I think on that note, it's probably enough talking about Chelsea. Let's move on to one of the other games that's happening. This one is also midday on Sunday weirdly at Hill Dickinson. I thought Everton were going to be playing all of their games at Goodison Park, but no, this one's at Hill Dickinson, the new stadium. I guess probably Everton women's first time playing here, I believe, at home against Man United. This fixture last season was a Man United win. Grace Clinton getting a goal in the 4th minute was the only goal of the game. Similarly to Spurs against Chelsea, Everton have never beaten Man United in a league game. They have beaten them in the Cup previously, in the League Cup, but never in the WSL. It's another one of a side or sort of a fixture that's often one-sided. But Izzy, I'll come to you first. How do you think this one's going to go? Because Everton have not been terrible this season, but Man United are just, I think far better than a lot of us thought they would be.
Yeah, I think we spoke a bit as well in the review pod about, I spoke about Everton being just slightly mediocre this season and not really having a spark, whereas I think United are the polar opposite of that. They've been excellent and they've got a spark about them. So I'd probably say this one, I'd call a sort of 3-0. I think this is going to be a very good fixture for United to kind of just, again, show what they can do, get more points on the board. Obviously, they drew with Chelsea last week, so I think, that will put them in good stead and they'll be sort of happy to go forward the position they're at in the table, whereas Everton are struggling. And I don't see that changing against United, to be honest. Especially in a new stadium for them as well. They didn't seem to do too well when they went to Goodison Park for the first time this season. So, yeah, I'm not optimistic for them.
Yeah, I think Everton are going to struggle in this one as well. Jacob, how about you?
Yeah, I think Everton are going to struggle in this one as well. I'd be quite concerned from an Everton point of view. They're winless in 4 since that opening day victory. Obviously, they did get a point away at Leicester, which I think they will take some encouragement from. It's like an extra points on the board away from home. But I think United have been strong. They're one of the 2 unbeaten sides in the league, as well as Chelsea, and I just can't really see it being too close. I'll go for a 3-0 United win.
3-0 as well, Tom.
So I'm not sure if I'm just smoking some Barclays right now, but I feel like I have a sneaky suspicion for Everton in this game because they just love doing this. They love lulling you into thinking that they're terrible at football. And then they come out and play one of the big sides and get a point or something like that. I have a feeling they're going to get a point. I think it's going to be 1-1. I have a feeling with Manchester United have midweek Champions League football, not a huge squad. They obviously have done really well with their midweek Champions League football so far in the qualifiers. And it is Vålerenga at home, so probably their easiest game in the Champions League. But I'm just sensing an away trip on the weekend as well could be tricky for them. And I think that Everton just need to start taking their chances. They had 4 big chances against Leicester. You can't draw that game 1-1 when you've conceded no big chances and you've had 4 big chances. And I think they're not really getting a lot of luck at the moment. And maybe I'm just kind of thinking that their luck, a few fates might conspire to give them a bit of luck this weekend. But yeah, I'm going to go 1-1 in this one.
1-1. I kind of hope you're right, because I think that'll be a much more exciting game than the games that Jacob and Izzy, and now myself have predicted. I've gone for a 2-0 Man United win in this one. I just think that Man United they are going to prioritise Champions League a bit, I think, because that is a competition they don't want to go out of in the first round. I don't think they've necessarily got realistic aspirations to win it this season. They're probably more realistic to win the WSL, to be honest, but they don't want to go out in the league phase, it's called. I was trying to remember what the word was. So I don't think they're just going to sort of let this go. I think they're going to be really trying. But I think as we start getting a bit further in the season and we start getting more midweek games, that Man United squad is not deep enough, especially in some of the positions where we know they have to work really hard, like in the wings. They've got decent cover in defence. They've obviously got Mallard and Turland that they can rotate around up front, but players like Salim Bizet, players like or even like Leah Golton out wide, there's not really, in those wide positions, there's not that much depth there. So I think they're going to end up struggling. But for now, I think they're just going to charge on still. Although I think an Everton, from an Arsenal fan perspective, I kind of hope Everton do get a point off them because, Man United are putting us to shame at the moment, and it would give Rene a little bit more sleep at night, I reckon. Let's move on to a game. I guess the closest thing we've got to a Midlands derby in the WSL, Villa hosting Leicester at Villa Park, also midday on Sunday. Leicester, I didn't really clock this while the season was going, but Leicester actually kept a clean sheet in both matches against Villa last season, which Villa did pretty well. Like they were no pushovers. They sort of rattled some of the big teams. You think about the games against Chelsea. So for them to not be able to get a single goal against Leicester surprised me, but I can't see that happening again this weekend. I think Villa were slightly lucky to win this weekend, I think, because they didn't. I don't think they really showed themselves to be much the better team against West Ham. Looking at some of the underlying numbers, it was actually quite close. They had a similar number of shots. They created a similar amount of XG, stuff like that. It was just two absolute screamers, which, West Ham, I mean, when you get shots like that, King of Shevin goal can't really do too much about it, unfortunately. It's more Villa being good than West Ham being bad. But I think in this game, Villa will still probably dominate possession a bit. I think Leicester are going to have to sit back a bit. Leicester are in a nice bit of, not form necessarily, but they've got some players back. You saw Naomi Mouchon get her first goal since being out with her injury that's kept her out for basically her whole Leicester career so far. And they're not doing anywhere near as badly as I thought they would, but I don't think they're as strong as Villa. So I've gone for a 2-1 Villa win in this, but it probably will be quite close. I think it's more likely to be a draw than Villa win by 2 or more. But I think Villa winning by a goal is probably around about the sweet spot. Tom, I'll come to you first on this one.
Yeah, I think I agree with what you said there, Sam. I think I fancy Villa for this one. I think, because I really remember that game at the King Power last year. I think that was Leicester's biggest win of the season, wasn't it? It was that big 3-0 win. It was where you were kind of thinking maybe this isn't going to work out with Arroyo, because I think Janice Kamen scored an absolute thunderbolt from the edge of the box. But I think that, I don't anticipate that happening again this time round. I think Natalia Arroyo won that game against West Ham from the bench. I think she's a brilliant tactician, and I think that she's one of the best in the league actually at that at the moment. And I like Rick Passmore. I think he's done a good job. But I have a feeling that Leicester might overextend themselves in this game, seeing it as one that they might be able to get something from. And that will kind of play into Villa's hands. Wouldn't be surprised if Hudson had another great game. She's on fantastic form at the moment. Same with Lynn Wilms, Anna Patton, Ebony Salmon, Chastity Grant. All of them are playing so well, such great, entertaining football. I think that I'm going to go 3-1 to Villa this one.
Yeah, I think, we're roughly on the same page. I was just having a look at some of the stats around a bit more in depth around the games, and I didn't realise that Leicester actually haven't accumulated one XG, haven't accumulated much XG, I should say, so far this season. They are right down there on 2.2 from 5 games, which isn't a lot, and the lowest possession in the league. So they are there to be got at. Izzy, do you think they will be got at?
Yeah, but I'm a bit more optimistic about them. I think Leicester are showing more confidence this season, which I like. And I think that Villa 100% will take the win, but I do think it might be a sort of 1-0 situation, potentially, as Tom says, from the bench. So, yeah, I do think Leicester are capable of holding off a bunch of Villa goals. But yeah, I don't see them taking any points from the game, but I don't know. Again, a bit like Tom and his Everton spidey senses. I just have a feeling this may be one that, they can actually, a bit like that Chelsea fixture, sort of hunker down for.
Yeah, it might be the one they can actually push through and they take that motivation from it. Yeah, could well be. Jacob, what are your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, I think I've gone for a Villa win as well. I think at the start of the season, I think Villa have gone a bit under the radar in these first few games, especially because they've played a game less than all of the other teams because that Liverpool game was postponed. So I've been impressed by Villa. I think they've got some good results. They got their two draws are very hard fought against Arsenal and Brighton. They did lose to Chelsea, but that's their only loss of the season. And the win on the weekend against West Ham was a big one. So I have high hopes for Villa. I think they have quite favourable fixtures coming up as well. So I think this can be the start of quite a positive fixture. Well, and the West Ham game, a positive fixture swing for them. So I've gone 2-0 Villa. I think, Sam, I was going to say the exact same point you said about like the low XG accumulated by Leicester, because I think it's quite surprising. They've accumulated the least XG in the league. They've only scored, I think, 3 goals maybe this season so far. But they've got attacking talent like Sam Tierney, Hannah Kane, and then kind of Naomi Mouchon coming back from injury, and Jutta Rantala, who was injured, I think, most of last season. If she can kind of get back on form, I think they've got a good base of an attack there. So it's just trying to kind of get them working together and creating chances and scoring goals.
Yeah, I think that they're obviously, like we said, they've accumulated the least XG in the league, but just to give you an idea of where they maybe aren't quite struggling so much as defensively, kind of like they did last season, that's why they're not doing, as terribly as some of the other teams. They've already got 4 points after 5 games. They've actually given away less XG than Chelsea and Manchester United this season. So that shows how much they're doing defensively. We think of Manchester United as this fantastic defensive team, but they've let more XG than Leicester, albeit Manchester United have had some tough opponents in recent weeks as well. The final game that's midday on Sunday is London City Lionesses against West Ham. This is a game that I'm potentially actually, other than maybe Chelsea Spurs, I'm actually really excited for this game. Maybe I think it's going to be the closest game of the weekend because, West Ham have had a decent run against London City Lionesses. They haven't lost in any of their 3 previous meetings, but this is a very different London City Lionesses side to the one that West Ham faced in the Cup last season. The only match that West Ham haven't lost this season was their one against Charlton in the League Cup. So they are very much out of form, 0 wins. I think they've got the fewest goals or second fewest goals scored, and they've most goals conceded. So it's in a really bad stage for West Ham. And I think we're getting to the point now where London City Lionesses are starting to gel a bit, and they are starting to show that they're a WSL level side. They obviously, in those first couple of games when they get thrashed by 4 goals every game kind of thing, you see that they are just sort of a group of good players. But I think at the moment they're transitioning into this really good side that work well together. Izzy, I'll come to you on this one first. Do you think this is going to be, I mean, I guess I can sort of give away what I'm implying, but I think London City Lionesses end up winning this game. Do you agree?
Yeah, I think I do. But I also do think it depends on kind of how the games play out. Obviously, London City Lionesses last week were fairly lucky, I think, to get that penalty. And we know that West Ham have been not on the best form. Again, maybe this is more wishful thinking, but I'm hoping that, given it's a sort of similar level team, West Ham will kind of feel like they have a bit more confidence in this one. But I do think probably London City Lionesses will edge it. But I'm going to say 2-1, just because I really, really want West Ham to get something on the scoreboard, and I think they can do it. But yeah, so I'm going to go 2-1. But who knows, to be honest. I think London City Lionesses are quite unpredictable in a good way for them.
Yeah, you think it could go either way?
Yeah, I do think it could go either way, but I also think it could be an absolute stomp for London City Lionesses. So it's kind of a weird one. Like, I really do think it depends what West Ham team turns up on the day. Because if it's the one that's been turning up for most of the games this season, then they're screwed.
Yeah, I think that's fair enough. Tom, I'll come to you on this because I know West Ham are kind of your second team, so you're probably best placed to talk about it.
Yeah, I think this is going to be I'm really hoping this will be a bit of a classic. I think you've got two sides who don't particularly love defending, love scoring goals as well. I know that West Ham haven't been scoring too many goals this season, but I think that it's going to be, I'm really hoping it's going to be a great game. The hardest one to call of the weekend as well, because I think you put these two against each other week one of the season and you'd be back in West Ham. But now, with the context of what's happened in the season so far, you're kind of thinking London City. Like, the only away game West Ham won last season was against the newly promoted side in Crystal Palace in the league. So their away form, I think, is what is going to really hurt them this year. I think that if this was at the Chigwell Construction Stadium, I'd be thinking differently. But I think that it's going to be a tight game with lots of goals. And I think that London City are probably just going to nab it. I'm going to go London City 3, West Ham 2.
That is an absolute barn burner. That's going to be first on a women's football show. Jacob, how about you? Because I feel like I'm kind of a bit of the odd one out here. I think this is going to be a relatively comfortable win for London City Lionesses. But are you with me or are you with Tom and Izzy?
I'm with Tom and Izzy. I've gone 2-1 as well, so that one goal difference. I think London City Lionesses could run away with it. I think we were speaking on the review pod. West Ham have just been so poor this season. 5 losses from 5, and it feels inexplicable because yes, maybe last season their defense wasn't strong, but obviously their attack was, and to have only scored 2 goals this season and one of the goals be a penalty and one of them be an own goal, it's just not working at all. And I think if you look at London City Lionesses' results, they've won both of their games against non-top 4 sides. They've beaten Liverpool and Everton, and West Ham are probably kind of in that second bucket of similar teams to Liverpool and Everton. So I've gone for 2-1. I did initially have 2-0, but I want to back West Ham to score as well.
I've gone 2-0. That's where I'm at in this one. I wouldn't be surprised to see London City Lionesses. I know there wasn't, they didn't give up that much XG in their previous game, but I don't know if that was as much to do with their defending as the attacking that was coming at them. But I think they're relatively defensively solid. I think they're more likely to have low scoring games than really high scoring games at the moment, because I think they're sort of trying to shut up shop a bit and try and, the famous thing of defense wins titles, attack wins games. I think they're trying to get to the point where they're not trying to win a title, but they're trying to stay in the league. They're not trying to just win the odd game here and there. They're trying to actually get a style of play that works really well for them. So I think they're going to be very defensively solid, but I just don't think West Ham are. I think, kind of like Tom said, if this was the start of the season, I'd be backing West Ham to win. I'd probably have a 3 West Ham players in my fantasy team as well. But as it stands, I'm probably going to have 1 player, and that's going to be an LCL player. So yeah, I'm going 2-0 in this game. And I think if there is, do you know what? I'd potentially say if there's any team that's most likely to keep a clean sheet this weekend, I'd be backing LCL. So I know I'm the odd one out, but a whole hands up, that's where I'm going. Let's move on to the 2:30 game this week at the Emirates. Arsenal hosting Brighton. Now, Arsenal and Brighton have had a few goal gluts last season. The last time they met was Brighton 4, Arsenal 2 back in May, when Arsenal was sort of deep in their Champions League run, and I think it's safe to say could not sort of stand up in the league as well as standing up in Europe. But this fixture last season, so when Arsenal were at home, was 5-0 against Brighton with 5 different scorers. So, and that was quite early on in the season. So similar to what we're getting now. So, yeah, is it going to be like the last time they met, or is it going to be the last game at the Emirates? Jacob, I'll come to you first on this one. Which side do you see coming out on top?
I'm not sure. I think Arsenal's last few games have been really tough. It's been a tough run there, winless in 3. And yeah, I think Arsenal have just been so synonymous under Rene with kind of goals, and we've not seen that as much in the last few games. I was actually going to ask a question to the 3 of you because I don't know the answer to this. Obviously, Michel Adjumang and Rosa Kafaji are at Brighton. Do you know the loan rules, whether they can play or not? Because I'm not sure whether they're eligible or can play.
I don't think they can play.
They're not allowed.
But I don't think they can.
Okay, I mean, I think that was one of the points that I was going to make, is that both Adjumang and Kafaji have been really important to Brighton this season, and alongside Frank Kirby and Kiko Saika, that's quite a strong attack. But Frank Kirby missed the Spurs game, and then with Adjumang and Kafaji not playing, I can't see Brighton putting up as much of a fight, just because of Arsenal's kind of poor run of form. I'm going to go 2-1 Arsenal, so I think they'll win the game, but I think it will be closer than you might have imagined in an Arsenal-Brighton game.
I've just had a quick Google of that rule as well, because I was pretty sure that it wasn't allowed, because I feel like it's happened before. And I think from a quick Google, the reason that I thought that is because it happened with Catherine Krul when she went to Everton from Arsenal and she wasn't allowed to play. That was the thing that popped up in my head, I think. But it looks like if the 2 clubs and the league are okay with it, then they can play against them. But yeah, I'll be honest, if I'm Rene, I'm not letting Adjumang and Kafaji play against me.
Yeah.
It's desperate times at the moment, isn't it, Tom?
I was thinking it's usually the clubs, because I remember last year when
the Watford game, was it?
Oh yeah, the Watford game, to be fair. But I was thinking Lexi Potter for Crystal Palace against Chelsea was ineligible to play. But yeah, that was in the FA Cup, wasn't it? The Adjumang game. So I don't know if that was different, and maybe they just didn't bother, thinking they would never play Watford. But yeah, with this game, I think, to be honest, I agree with exactly what Jacob said. That was kind of my thinking as well. I think that Arsenal are going to... Rene's kind of been reticent to rotate, and I think it's really... I think it's going to be really important that she starts doing that, because, you're playing Lyon on Tuesday night. Obviously, it's at Boreham Wood, so that's going to help, but that's probably the best team Arsenal have played so far this season. And then a few days later, you're having to have a really quick turnaround and play Brighton. And I think that could also have an effect. But yeah, I think that's a really good point that Jacob's made about where Brighton's goals are going to come from. I think that would mean kind of Camacho might come in. So it'd be interesting to see her get a start if that is the route they go down. But yeah, I was going to go 2-1 as well. I think Jacob's got it spot on.
Izzy, are you joining the club?
I'm trying not to be negative Nancy. I'm going to say 3-1, just because I think Arsenal will lose the Champions League game, and I think that they'll want to come out with a bit of a vengeance if what I've predicted is true. And yeah, I do think without Adjumang and Kafaji, it's going to be difficult for Brighton at the Emirates. And I also think Arsenal have a point to prove. So I'm hoping that those factors kind of lead to a bit more of a motivated team show. And also, like, I think the history that they have with Brighton fixtures, I think the players sort of know that, and psychologically it does play into it. But I don't expect a clean sheet, not at all. But I do think they'll win by at least 2 goals.
I feel like after having been off the pod for 2 weeks, I've just sort of lost touch with everything that's logical, because I feel like I've disagreed with you all so much tonight. But I've gone for a 2-0 Arsenal win, because I just don't think it can keep going on. I don't think, I've looked at some of the underlying numbers and stuff. I've looked at some of the underlying numbers, and it's not that Arsenal are playing particularly badly. I just think we're not being very clinical, and I think that's not something that will continue. You can, things like your XG, you can underperform against your XG, but you won't do it forever. You will revert back to the mean eventually, unless you just have really terrible strikers, which it's a less era, so we don't have terrible strikers. We've got Chloe Kelly and Beth Mead and people like that getting shots away too.
I think
and then Stina Blackstonis is also there.
Sorry, before you move on, I just wanted to say I think one thing that is going to play into Brighton's favour is that Arsenal are struggling on set pieces at the moment. Conceded to City and to Aston Villa. And I think Brighton have got really good players for those set pieces. Like Caitlin Hayes is an excellent header of the ball. So that's going to be something that Arsenal are really going to have to work on this week, I think, because that could be a really real opportunity for Brighton.
Yeah, I watched the highlights of the Brighton game from last weekend, and she popped up a few times in the sort of 8-minute highlights or whatever it was, heading the ball away. It was like it was just kind of like just kept coming up, and I was like, how many headers is she going to win throughout this game? She's not exactly like 6'6" or something, like incredible towering player. She just seems to pop up to them all the time. But
I think locking in knowledge for a future Know Your Stat round.
If it comes up as aerial duels, it's going to be Hayes straight away. Right, final game of the weekend, and it is the Gareth Taylor derby. Liverpool hosting Manchester City, the first time he faces his former side. City are on a run of 5 wins in all competitions since losing to Chelsea on the opening day. But I did have a look through sort of City's past fixtures, because I noticed all of those 5 wins, despite the fact they've won, they have conceded. And actually, in the league, City have only kept 1 clean sheet since they last faced Liverpool back in February. That was a 4-0 win at the time, so pretty confident, let's say, performance. But even now that they've changed manager, obviously, well, I think twice since then, they're still, not really keeping many clean sheets, but they're just sort of almost like the heavy metal football, just we will outscore you. So, is that going to happen this weekend again? Tom, let's come to you first on this one.
Yeah, it's kind of like immovable object meets unstoppable force. Like Liverpool can't score, City can't not concede. Like it's I think that City will keep a clean sheet in this game. I hate being so negative about Liverpool, because I feel like every week I come on this podcast and just say how much I don't think Liverpool are going to turn it around right now. But I was at that, covering that London City Lionesses Liverpool game, and they hardly created anything. And I think they absolutely have to start Sophie Roman-Haug in this game if they're going to have any kind of aerial presence further up the pitch. And hopefully Leanne Kiernan will be back from fitness and fit again. I asked Gareth Taylor about that. He said that she had taken a knock on her foot basically, and had a huge swollen foot basically, which meant that she couldn't play. So hopefully she'll be back. And I think those two could help them turn their fortunes around at that end of the pitch. But I think that City are just too strong with the players that they have, the quality they have, and I think it's going to be 4-0 again, is what I'd say. City.
Yeah, I think my view is very similar for once. I sort of had a look through the stats, and my initial thought, as I tend to do for this, I have an initial thought of this is what I think is going to happen. I think City are going to thrash him, and then I go and check some of the numbers, and I say, is that still my kind of thought? Do I need to change anything? And no, just very much the same. City have accumulated the most XG in the league, and they've overperformed. They've scored 14 goals. Liverpool with the second least XG, and have underperformed, so they've scored a measly 1 goal this season. So it's not looking good for them, and I think Gareth Taylor will absolutely love it if he can beat Man City, because he will feel aggrieved having been let go, obviously. But I think we've said in previous weeks before as well that his style of play just doesn't seem to fit the players that he's got. I don't think that Rafaela Begraff did very well last weekend. again watched the highlights of that game, and there was a few times where she was obviously the goal itself was a penalty, a really well taken penalty as well. So she couldn't really do much about that. But there were a few poor mistakes that just didn't need to get made, unforced errors, as you'd say in tennis, that just didn't need to happen. I can see her doing more of. So yeah, I can't see them keeping a clean sheet by any means. But Man City probably yes. I actually think Liverpool were, well, other than one other team, I can't remember who it was now, that City have kept a clean sheet against Liverpool were the last team. And I think it's going to be again because they just don't seem to score many goals. They've only had 7 shots on target all season, which I know they've played a game fewer than most teams, but still they've played the same amount as Villa, and Villa have had more than double that. So yeah, I'm going to go for a 3-0. I'll give them a bit of mercy, but as long as Captain Bunny Shaw still scores a hat-trick, I'll be happy. Izzy, how about you?
It's 4-0, no brainer. I have nothing to add. That's just what's going to happen.
And then finally, Jacob, how do you think it's going to go?
Yeah, I have also gone 4-0. I think this could get quite ugly for Liverpool. I just have not been convinced by Liverpool at all. They're 4 losses, yet to pick up a point. As you said, Sam, they've only scored 1 goal, and in their last 3, they really haven't created much in terms of chances. 0.5 xG against Leicester, 0.8 xG against United, and 0.2 xG against London City Lionesses, all to 0 goals. And I think City just have such a strong attack. They've scored the most goals in the league this season. I think Bunny Shaw's the joint top scorer. She's accumulated the most XG, and even though she's actually underachieved in comparison to her XG, she's had so many chances, and you can only give Bunny Shaw a certain amount of chances before she'll put them away. So I can see, Bunny Shaw being instrumental to a City thrashing.
Yeah, I think we're kind of all on the same page. And yeah, I think by this point we've probably lost any Liverpool listeners that were there. But maybe we'll pick them up in the next episode after Gareth Taylor grinds down a 1-0 win. But we'll wait and see what comes in next week's review show. Let's move on to Aerial Fantasy because it's going to be a bit easier, I think, this week to actually know who to pick. Last week was so difficult with the top 4, or the big 4, I should say, not the top 4, unfortunately. Speaking as an Arsenal fan, the big 4 all playing each other, and then sort of the other 8, it was sort of trying to work out who was going to be the good picks. Where I think I did all right, but I'm sure we've covered that in the review pod. So let's just look forward to the next game week and who might our big picks be, and captain picks as well. Tom, I'll leave you till last because I know that of the 4 of us, you've got the most points. So you're going to be the one that people listen to the most, or should listen to the most. Let's go with the person that actually runs the game. Izzy, who are you going with this weekend?
Once again, never listen to me. I did all right last week. So I think it has to be Bunny Shaw and a Bunny Shaw captaincy. I think that's not in doubt for anyone. I think Kasparai as well is now becoming a must-have, especially the way that City are playing. She just seems so instrumental to that. She will continue, I think, to get assists. And yeah, I'm tempted to throw in Kat Macario as well. I think she could see some game time, get a goal, and she is a visionary. So that would be my top 3 choices. But yeah, I'm going to be relying very heavily on City this week. Mainly because I'm doing so badly that I really need to boost my points.
See, I would also consider putting someone like Kat Macario in, but I was done in by Bompastor Bingo last week. Put a Chelsea player in, and they didn't play in Berman, so I'm wary to go to Chelsea again, trying to sort
We've all been
of
burned.
aim to literally any other team, basically. Jacob, let's come to you next. Who are sort of your big picks this weekend?
My big picks are going in on Aston Villa. I think Villa have quite strong fixtures coming up, and I think we've predicted them to beat Leicester on the weekend, and I've just had a look at some ownerships, and a couple of the Villa players who I might transfer in are very lowly owned, so it could be worth going in on them. Lynn Vilms, obviously that big point scorer with 18 last game week, is only 3.21% owned. And similarly, Ebony Salmon is 2.38% owned. So not quite visionary just, but you'll still get, I guess, the added bonus of if they score or if they get points, then not many other teams have them in, so you'll get kind of ahead of other teams. The other one who I've picked, who I think quite a few of you maybe, and a few other, like I'm sure lots of other people would have captained Nikita Paris last week, and again against West Ham. I think Nikita Paris will be a big pick for London City Lionesses. I think she got credited in the end with the assist for the penalty, which I think the points were added on after. So yeah, I think Paris has been really good, and I would pick her as well.
I'd like to say that addition was made independently of the fact that Paris was my captain last week. And I actually genuinely had nothing to do with that decision. It was done completely independent of me. I would like to declare that publicly.
Am I right in saying that a lot of the decisions on that sort of stuff kind of comes from the Opta data that you get? It's not necessarily...
Yes, it is. But penalties is often a case that we have to add them in manually afterwards because Opta data doesn't award an assist for the person who wins the penalty, which is why Paris didn't initially get the assist. It's something that we kind of have to retrofit in. But yes, everything else is pretty much decided by Opta, not us. That is the one instance where we have a bit more control. But again, I had nothing to do with it.
I think it was pretty obvious that she got the assist on that anyway. I don't think anyone's going to be arguing against that. Although I was a bit annoyed at that because that knocked me out of the top 100 on the Decoding the WSL League. So
you win some,
I didn't have her. Yeah, exactly. I didn't have her, so I'm just sitting there at 102 now, just creeping, ready to jump in. I'm going to go before the fantasy expert. So I'm going to actually play my clean slate this week. I think that basically coming up to last week, over the last couple of weeks, I've been slowly getting rid of any of the big four teams. So I still had a few, but mostly got rid of, whereas now I kind of want to pile in at least definitely on the two Manchester clubs this weekend, probably a decent amount of Chelsea and Arsenal, players that I'm confident are going to play anyway. People like Hannah Hampton are probably making my team. But I'm going to go... so I think people like Bunny Shaw is probably going to be my captain. I'm going to see if I can fit in players like Rousseau and Mariona and things alongside, but it's going to be a bit budget dependent. Someone I am definitely looking at is Hinata Miyazawa because she seems to be playing quite a lot and she's still a visionary somehow. And she's obviously, she has scored this season. She tends to score one a season, but she's looking a bit more attacking this season, a bit more back to her World Cup success that sort of brought her move to Manchester United. So she's going to be one of the Manchester United players I put in for sure. Someone else I'm going to put in is Sangare from London City Lionesses because she's 4 million as a defender. She's playing and is still a visionary. So I think that against West Ham at home, if you're going to be putting in a player that's 4 million and a visionary as a defender, it's a pretty safe bet. It's pretty good value. And then the other thing I've got is, like Jacob said, Villa have got a good couple of games coming up. So I'm going to go for probably 3 Villa players. I don't know exactly who they're going to be yet. I think Wilms and Hansen will definitely be 2 of them. And then the other one will probably be one of Patton or Ebony Salmon. Maybe even someone, I don't know. I'll need to have a look and see who the visionaries are at Villa as well. But yeah, they are, I think, performing well. And I think that they will, if you pick the right players, I think they will get some points going forward. So yeah, I was trying to make this sort of relatively brief, but I feel like I've nattered on for a few minutes about my own fantasy team there. Forgive me, I haven't been on the pod for a while, so you're gonna have to suck it up. Tom, how about you? What are your big picks this week?
I think the number one thing that I'm kind of thinking about this week is the Champions League. I would say my advice would be to not make any transfers until we've seen all of those games. Give yourself the most information that you can, unless there's going to be a price rise and you'll be priced out of the move you want to make. I think hopefully we'll be able to tell quite a lot by the teams that come out who's going to play on the weekend, especially with Chelsea. I feel like, say, if we see Berman play against Twente, maybe we won't see her on the weekend, that type of thing, just because they have the depth to do that. I really still like Berman. I recommended her last week, and she's still a visionary, obviously, and she's not good. I don't think many people are going to be picking her up after Sam was burnt by her last week. But yeah, I think she's a good pick. I think a lot of London City Lionesses players this week are good picks at home. They created a lot against Liverpool. Jacob mentioned Nikita Paris. She's in my team and is going to stay there. Kosovari Aslani and Grasqueoro as well. I think are really good picks, especially because Grasqueoro is still a visionary pick. And because London City Lioness has got a clean sheet, she got 3 visionary points last week despite not making a return. And she was very close to making a return as well. She had a really good opportunity that, Borgrafa just passed the ball to her, which was very nice. I wonder if Borgrafa has Goyoro in her fancy team as well, but probably not because she made a great save from her just a moment later. But I think Grasqueoro is a really good one. And I'd encourage people to stick with Freya Godfrey. She came off the bench for her first minutes in the WSL after returning from injury. I asked Jocelyn Prussia about her after the game, and he was absolutely glowing about what a model pro, talented pro she is. And she looked very, very bright when she came on as well, caused Liverpool issues. So hold on to her for now, I think. If you've held on to her for this long, don't give up now. And then finally, I think people have touched on it already, but I'd also be looking at City players, especially Kasparai, like Izzy mentioned, bombing up that wing like nobody's business. Exactly what you want in your your defensive players. She's also does a lot of the set pieces as well, and is very good delivering the ball at set pieces too. And on that similar note, I'd say Greenwood as well, as a player who's on set pieces frequently for Manchester City. And of course, you're looking at Bunny Shaw, even Grace Clinton, any City player, to be honest. Just get them in the team. That would be my advice.
Yeah, I think it's good advice as well, to be honest. I'll definitely be stocking up on basically as many City players as I can afford. You say about Freya Godfrey as well, just while you're talking, I was looking at our USS OGO, the number 1 team in the Decoding the WSL League, and they do have Freya Godfrey in their team, so
huge.
Huge indeed. People know what they're talking about when they're doing well, obviously. So yeah, I guess they are sort of our big picks for this week coming up, the last one before the international break. And that is pretty much where we leave you today. Just before you go, I will remind you of the Football Manager 26 giveaway. Obviously, like I mentioned, women's football is coming into Football Manager for the first time ever, being released at the start of November. And we're running 2 giveaways. One is on Instagram. Go find the Decoding the WSL page. Our pinned post is there ready for you to tag your friends in the comments. Each comment is an entry, completely free to enter. And the other one is on YouTube. So on this YouTube video for this episode, go ahead and comment with what team you're going to be managing first when you get Football Manager 26. There's no purchase necessary to enter this competition. And don't forget to click subscribe while you're there so you never miss an episode. And you can come see our wonderful faces on YouTube. Maybe you're a Spotify or Apple Podcast listener, and yeah, try fancy actually watching the show rather than just listening to it. Full details for the giveaway can be found in the episode description on YouTube. But other than that, that's about it for today's. I know one more important thing that I forgot to mention. The FCA's voting is still available, so go and vote for, well, Izzy, I'll probably let you take this over, actually, because they're fantasy nominated.
Yes, please vote for me. Oh, sorry. You've frozen some. I just heard vote for Izzy. He was like, yeah, vote for me.
I cut out there for basically all of Izzy talking. I got about 3 words at the start and 3 words at the end. Was it all fine, or did you?
I only said vote for me. Don't worry. I only said 3 words.
I don't know what happened then. I'll have to watch it back.
But vote for us, please.
Yeah, make sure to vote for Aerial Fantasy because, yeah, it's really good and it's the best fantasy game around the WSL. I think we can all agree. The other person that you should vote for as well is Emily Herbert. I think she's down for best creator in women's sport, something like that, or women's football. She is actually going to be on the pod next week as well. So, I guess we can get an assist, maybe call it that. But yeah, go and vote. There's so many really good. There's so many really good creators out there, and really good pieces of content that are deserving of your vote. So go and head to the FCA's website and get your votes in for whoever you think is best. Obviously, we are supporting Aerial Fantasy, Emily Herbert, and a few other friends of the pod. But that's where we're going to leave you today. Thank you very much, listener, for tuning in to Decoding the WSL. Thank you, Tom. Thank you, Izzy. And thank you, Jacob. But that is another week wrapped up, another week to look forward to, and we've just got one more round of fixtures before the international break. But thank you very much for joining us, and we'll see you at the next one.